and I'm going to hone those cylinders. I'll go ahead and take this thing out now that I can. I think I can go ahead and flip this over now. I don't think these will come out unless I push them out. So next thing I'm going to do is get my cylinder hone out and just do a little honing on these cylinders. I'm just going to do it a little bit on each one first, then I'm going to soak them down with oil and do more. But I want to run up and down this and look at the cylinders, because if you've got a bad spot on the cylinder when you hone it, a bad spot will show itself. Don't stick your hand in there when you're turning that on, Ricky. Good gracious. What you'll have if you've got a bad cylinder and you run a hone down it, a lot of times you'll see a spot there the hone didn't touch because there's like a worn out spot. I had a flathead motor we pulled apart. I think Deadeye pulled it apart and we looked at it, the one that came up from Bicknell Maynard's house. And it had places where when the piston got to the top, it wallowed and it wore out places all up in there, and you could see those places down in the cylinder. I don't see anything like that on this one. I like this one, so what I'm going to do is when I hone, I like to put a lot of oil in there, keep it lubricated. I don't want to scratch things. I just want to, rough them up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is get me some oil and just start running that hone up and down in there for a while. This is going to be really boring, so I won't record off a lot of this because nobody would want to watch it if I did. Right, we'll do that a little bit. We'll do a little bit of that. So I just made a whole bunch of video and the camera wasn't running. So I'll briefly go over what I just did. I took this machine right here. This is a cylinder hone. And I ran it. This is all spring loaded. Goes in the cylinder like this. You get it spinning, you don't want to go down too far, because if you do and you hit the side of one of those journals, it can break your stone and you come out, but you don't want to come out too far. So you want to move about this far while it's spinning, like this. Now that does a couple things. One of them is it kind of roughs up the cylinder. These cylinders get polished like glass. When the cylinder's going up and down, especially when the rings are wore out, it polishes them so that there's nothing slippery. There's no traction. The rings can't get any traction in those cylinders because they're so slippery. They just slide by and the water can squeak by them. What this does is it just roughs them up, and it roughs them up in a circular motion so that you're creating little circular, you can see these, I did this without oil just to have a look at it. You're creating little circular areas there for that thing to run in, and that helps your rings to have something to grab a hold of, I guess, if that makes any sense. And I tend to run them all up and down all the cylinders first and then look at everything to see where they're not touching. And here's an example you may can see right here there's a slight area where this is darker, and that's where those stones didn't touch. And it could be that the piston in there was capping a little bit. It comes to the top. Instead of staying straight, it might come to the top and just tilt a little. Sometimes when they do that, they'll wear a little space right there. But that running this up and down in there helps me to see if there's any places in the side of the cylinder that are bad. Because if there are, you may have to re-hone the cylinders. We'll work on that spot with the hone and see if we clean it up. But I wind up spending a lot of time just squirting a little oil in there, going up and down on each cylinder. It's time consuming. It's not that interesting. So I'm not going to film it for y'all to watch. I just thought I'd talk about it, and then I'll cut the camera off and I'll go on with my business. So fun hanging with y'all. I'll talk to you some more in a little while. Have a nice day. So my camera says my battery's going dead, so I'll just film this till it does. That won't be too much for y'all to have to watch. That way you can kind of get a sense of what I'm doing here. Yeah, I broke one of my stones there. That's not what I wanted to do. Never let her get too far out. I don't think I got any replacement stones for that tool, but I might. Could get some. Let's take a look and see. Get me a fairly clean rag. I can run down in there. See what it looks like. See what they look like once we clean them up.